Angela, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
You were saying there that I love doing the podcast. I do. I used to love photography so much. So for me, this is my way of the editing. I love the editing.
It's the creativity,
The
isn't it?
creativity part. I find like I could sit for hours being creative. Just not with distraction too.
I think most mediums that I have come across, you know, you have your mediumship, but then you find that there is other creative aspects that you need to express. So this must be your thing.
Yeah. So tell me about some of your classes. I wanted to ask you, particularly about spooky things you might have seen, or things that, no, shocking things like, people wouldn't believe. People sometimes think that all we do is fight off ghosts. We do in part, we do something. We do have to do that sometimes a wee bit.
Well, I hope not, because I have never seen one. No, I've never seen a ghost. There's people out there that might have had spooky experiences, and then because people don't really understand it, then they may immediately think that it is a ghost. And it could be maybe their great granda, or it might be a relative that they never knew before. But for me, no, I haven't really. I know you're saying, tell me about some of your spooky experiences. I haven't had, thank God, too many spooky experiences. When I was first beginning for the, in the awareness classes. So when I first started that, because I was so interested in spirit guides, and I wanted to know who my spirit guide was, I used to sit in bed at night, and Gabrielle, she used to sleep in beside me. So she was beside me, and I was reading all my spiritual books, and I was in a wee 2-bed flat at the time, and I had like this little chandelier, and I would say to them in my mind, shake the chandelier, do something, so then I know it's you. So there was only just me and her, and on one night, when I asked them, and I was sitting in bed in the living room, which was next door to where my bedroom was, all I heard right along the skirting was right along the skirting. And I have to be honest, I nearly shit myself. And I jumped out of bed because I thought, oh my God, somebody's in my living room, even though I've been asking for these signs. And I went into the living room, and of course nobody was there. And I just then had this feeling of a presence. So I knew then that was my spirit guide saying to me, it's us. But they wouldn't. For me personally, I don't think spirit would scare someone.
I don't think you love.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
it's not.
they're
not.
Too.
Yeah, like I don't get the why would this loving force that wants to come forward and communicate in such a positive, uplifting way? Why would they want to bring fear? There's no way that they bring fear, but that's just my experience. And so all the decades that I'm doing this, that wasn't even a freaky experience. That was just their way of saying, we're here. But we can't manifest in the way that you want us to, or we're not going to be told what to do. And you'll find that people do put out thoughts of, do this or try that, or sometimes even if I'm doing readings with someone, I'll laugh and I'll say, oh, your loved one's saying that you're getting the camera up and you're moving it about at nighttime, and they're saying, we're not going to show ourselves in that way. And you have to remember, see, when you have a light on at nighttime, and you're doing this here, there's dust particles. And so sometimes people think that they're catching orbs. And it's not. It's just particles, very simply.
And moisture.
You know what I mean? So sometimes you have to be practical and grounded to what the experience is. But you'll know that if you have, there was another experience, I wrote this one in my book, and it wasn't spooky, but it was funny. And again, I was it was the first couple of years when I was training, and I used to do loads of cycling as a stress buster, and it just used to keep my head right. And on one of the occasions, I was out cycling, I came home, I got the bike up the steps to the flat, and I was really needing the bathroom. So I opened the door, run in as quick as I could, and Gabrielle's room was adjacent to the small bathroom. So I went in, and I was just using the bathroom as you do, and immediately out loud, one of her toys said, I got my eye on you. And it was the time of Toy Story, and it was the little green-eyed monster, and it was your man, Mike Wazowski, and I'd bought her the toy, but for you to, and then it said in the next phrase, and I froze on the toilet, and I looked in her bedroom, and the next thing it said, hey, you over there. And so I got up, fixed myself, walked into your bedroom, and I lifted this green one-eyed monster toy, and you had to pull its arm down to make it say these sayings.
Yeah.
But obviously it was just me in the flat.
Yeah.
So she wasn't even there.
Yeah.
And so this was, but I thought it was really funny because I'm in the middle of doing the business.
Yeah.
And then all you hear is, I got my eye on you. And then immediately I could feel my aunt, Christina, who had passed. I felt her stand beside me, and I was going through loads of stress with work at the time. So I feel like that was her way of just saying, I have my eye on you,
yeah.
and things are going to be okay. So she got my attention.
Yeah.
She really got my attention.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that happened. There was another instance that happened as well. Loads of things happened in the flat. Yeah. Loads, you know, because I'd done readings and all from there too. And on another occasion, there was a night, a spirit man came. It was a father for his daughter. And when I was in bed at night, I could hear footsteps. Yeah. Somebody walking up and down the hallway. And I sort of tuned in a little bit. And then I felt a dad. And he said to me, I want to talk to my daughter. Yeah. And I said, well, she's coming tomorrow, so come back tomorrow. Yeah. And then he did right enough. Yeah. So he was he was keen. Yeah. You see, this is what it is. So sometimes things like that happen. But see, nowadays, like, I actually get more afraid of an alarm going off than what
Something
I do with
anything
to do with the spirit world, because it's so natural and easy and loving and connected, and it inspires and it empowers and joyful. Like when I work with spirit, as you do too, it's something that lifts me. It does, and it energizes me. It's not something that I go to that place in my mind of, hold on, am I safe? Yeah. No, I am safe, and I am protected, and I am loved. And what I'm doing is the intention of always trying to bring all of that to another person, to let them know they're safe and they're with you. Yeah. I think it's just a lot of like old experiences, old folklore, old superstitions that and that's what makes people afraid. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do a podcast like this, to show that we're normal people that are real, like real people, like, and you're naturally psychic because it comes from your mummy's side. Of course. I want to know more about that there, because a lot of people at home are thinking, my granny was psychic or my granny did, and I know it just really rings. It comes from families. It does. I found from experience, because I know a lot of mediums, and spoke to a lot of mediums over the years, and it's generational. Yeah. So you will find the grannies or grandies very perceptive and open to the spirit world. And it would run through the family line. It would run through my aunt, my granny, my mother, and some of my granny's sisters. So they all would have done like tea leaves. Yeah. My aunt, who's a nun, my great aunt, who's a nun, Lily, she used to see auras all around people. Yeah. But my aunt Christina, the one who passed away, the one I was telling you about there, she used to see people at the bottom of the bed. Yeah. And it happened so frequent that my mummy used to go to the church, because they were wondering, why are these people showing themselves to me? And so they went then to the church to pray for their souls, because they thought that that's what they needed. And not long before she died, she seen her husband's granny at the bottom of her bed. And she told my mummy, and my mummy thinks now, when she looks back on it, that maybe that was a wee warning sign that something was going to happen. Yeah, like a death knell. Yeah, maybe so. But so like, there's absolutely, it comes through generations, but then it shows you that if you're willing to work with it. Yeah. And the lovely thing that I find today, especially in where we live now, Glenn, you know, in Belfast, like 20 years ago, the Belfast Spiritualist Church was the only place that you could really go to see a medium, or maybe travel over to England. There wasn't really any such thing of going to see, you know, in theatres, hotels, pubs, bars, where nowadays it has spread out. Yeah. And I definitely think that that's a good thing, because we're bringing our light, we're bringing the connection to the masses, and that's what needed to happen. Definitely. So it needed an outburst beyond just the church, although the church is a beautiful, and I love working in the church. You know, it's fabulous, but Spirit obviously needed to make another gateway to get out there into more people, and also in these ways too of technology. You know, like you think back 20 years ago. Yeah, I know. You know, you would hardly even have a knife. You had a brick. It would have been like a film in dark rooms and all this stuff. All this. So you wouldn't have had this here, where we could just have a nice and you can just do it from the comfort of your home. Yeah. You know, you would have had to go and hire out. Yeah. Maybe like doing a live stream for me was like going on stage. That was for like that was my like moment. And that's for me. That's my way. Because you love the stage. I'd be terrified of getting on stage. It makes me just freeze. But it's the same sort of energy when you press the live button. Of course. It's like that wee split second, you go, oh my God, I can't do this.
and then something just works for you.
Yeah.
Then
No, I love being on the stage.
Yeah.
So I do. I think that's where, for me personally, that I get to shine a little bit.
Yeah.
And I have great interaction. I love interacting with the public.
Yeah.
In that way, with the audiences, and it obviously has been working because I've been quite busy with it.
You can check out some of the evidence that Angela brings through on her, what's your Instagram?
There's Angela Dunlop Medium, and that's for Facebook and for Instagram, or the website, either or.
So you do quite a lot of teaching. I know a lot of people at home, Angela, will be thinking, oh God, well, I feel things, well, I would love to develop that. I would love to. What would you say to anybody at home that's maybe thinking about doing classes, what they expect from themselves?
Yeah. So whenever I started my own, not just classes, but whenever I started my own development, I didn't think, like, you know yourself, I was interested in DJing.
Yeah.
So my thoughts were about, I wanted to be this a big Ibiza DJ. I wanted to travel the world with my DJing, really passionate for music, dance music in particular. And sort of that's where my dreams and visions was. And I never thought anything about doing classes with mediumship. Didn't think anything about medium. And then I went to the church, and one of the ladies on the rostrum mentioned about an awareness class, and there was just something inside me as a person that had a little inner ding, and I thought, I need to go to them classes. And my sister used to come over to the church with me at the time, our Lisa. And I said to her, I give her a nudge. I says, well, we'll go to these classes. And she went, I'm not going to them classes, no way. And I said, well, do you know what? I'm going to go. And at the time, I just passed my driving test. So I managed to get Gabrielle minded. My other sister took her on a Monday night, and then I started going over it. But I still didn't know why I was going to these classes. But now when I look back and I realize you get a pull for the classes because it's your soul that's calling you. That's the difference. I might not have known the potential because I didn't know the potential that I could possibly work in this environment. And that, yes, maybe I have an ability there to be able to connect. But at the time, I had no awareness whatsoever. But when I went to the classes, I lit up. Something inside me sparked. And exactly that's what happens. And over just a short period of time, I started doing connections to the spirit world. And people may think, oh, was it not frightening in the beginning? No, it was like somebody just put my light on and just put it off full flame. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. This is amazing. This is what I want to do. And I knew from that moment, this is what I want to do. This is what I am. This is who I am. And so then that's when everything began. And then over the years, absolutely, I've had lots of different students come my way, and I've been able to help them in some ways. And loads of them are out shining and working and out there, and they're teaching other students as well. So, it all comes through. And some of the teachers, I had lovely teachers through the Belfast Spiritualist Church over the years. I sat in circle there for many years, and then I also went to a place called the Arthur Finlay College, and I went there a few times a year. And one of the mentors that I had was a man called Glenn Edwards, and then I used to get him over to help to do the teaching as well for students. And so, and his teaching was absolutely outstanding. Like, he knew everything about the word power. All right, and because you have to remember, when mediums are working, that they're tapping into that spiritual power, and not a lot of people would understand what that's all about. So absolutely, you get the soul calling for it, and then you have to give it a go. And you don't know whether it's going to be for you, but if you feel excited and enthusiastic and you're really enjoying it, then go for it.
So Angela, tell me about some of your classes that you do.
So
you've got coming up.
I have. I'm currently running a new awareness class. So that's been ongoing from the beginning of September. So that's going to continue.
Brilliant.
So it is, So I'm just going to continue, and because of the way COVID was for quite a while, obviously everything shut down, and I wasn't able to do face-to-face. Where I'm back at that. So I have workshops, and I have ongoing weekly classes in person, if anybody is interested. So there's ones for beginners, and then I'm going to start another one for intermediate level. So there'll be a combination of all that together.
And shows you're everywhere at the minute, Angela, aren't you?
yes, I have loads coming up here over the next week or two. So if anybody is interested, just jump on my website, angeladunlop.co.uk.
Yeah. So Angela, we were talking before about, well, me and Marie had mentioned before about older psychics, and I'd mentioned Edgar Casey was one of the ones that I enjoyed listening to some of his readings and things. Who for you would you say?
I have a couple. I've read loads of books on, the older mediums. Maybe Estelle Roberts.
Yeah.
Her mediumship. See, these older mediums, they would have filled huge halls, like the Albert Hall over in London. Albert Best, who was from here originally, he was a postman. He unfortunately lost his wife and his children in the war. He was away at war, and when he came back, he used to live just off the New Lodge. And unfortunately, his family was killed in a bomb. And so after that happened, he left Belfast and he went on then, and he was the footballer, his uncle. So he was the Geordie Best.
George Best.
Yes, so Albert Best was his uncle. But anyway, so he left and went over to Scotland, and he set up there, and then he, over a period of time, got obviously amazing development. But it was the level of detail that they can come up with, Estelle Roberts and Gordon Higginson, and there was a lot of different mediums, but these particular style of mediumship, they were able to give first and surnames, addresses. You don't really get that kind of content as much. You don't really get that. And maybe in a way it's a good thing, because back then they wouldn't have had the internet. And I think they
were more connected then.
But no, I think actually it's a good thing in terms of maybe people would be too suspicious. If I was to say, and it has happened on occasion, I'm not saying I haven't, on occasion, like if I get first names and maybe the odd surname, brilliant. But it doesn't happen every single contact. But these mediums were able to do that. And I think that because of the internet, if I started rhyming off names and addresses, people may think you must be jumping on the internet and checking stuff out. People will think that anyway, of course, skeptics. Which isn't true. But if you're bringing through more the personality, their work, personal memories, things that have happened years ago that are nothing to do with internet, Facebook, none of
things
that.
You could never know what.
Exactly. Then it's still given that proof of contact. But it's not to say once in a while it's still lovely when you get something really meaty.
Like,
yes, exactly. So so I think the spirit world, they're very intelligent in the way they work, but absolutely people can still get that kind of information. So so there are some of the ones that I really enjoy.
I think some of the older ones, if you haven't seen them, definitely go on and check them out. But I didn't know George Best's uncle was
Albert
actually
Best.
A medium. That's fantastic. Like.
No, he was incredible, and he wasn't just incredible at giving the names and because he was a postman. You see, so the spirit world were tapping in to his understanding of different memories. So as he's going around posting the letters, and then when he went to his mediumship, he was able just to rain them off because he was so used to doing that every single day. But he was an incredible healer as well. And he never met anybody after all those years, after the loss of his wife and his children. So, and at the end, he trained Gordon Smith. So he was his mentor. And as you know, Gordon Smith is absolutely phenomenal. So them two were really close friends. Glenn Edwards, who trained me, he was exactly the same. He would come off with names and surnames and the level of detail. I remember he gave me a personal reading one many years ago, and he was able to share different names and people that were connected to me, living and past. And it was mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing. But you have to remain open minded.
You do. You definitely do. I think if you're going looking for something certain, you might only get that something certain.
And I think too that some students that come into this that maybe want things to happen quickly. And it might not happen. You might have pieces of information that come quickly, but you have to stay very grounded in it and remember it's coming from the spirit world. It's not coming from me. You see, this is the difference. It's them coming to blend with me, and then what's taking place is my subconscious is reacting to what their soul is wanting to say, and then it's how I interpret it. And so you have to stay grounded, because without their power and their love and their connection, mediumship doesn't take place. You see, so that, and that's why for students, you know, I say to them, this is a long journey.
Yeah.
This isn't something that happens
overnight.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
not everybody knows that, because people come into it now, especially in this era,
Yeah.
and maybe don't have the same dedication.
Yeah.
Where the mediums of the past that
Yeah.
we're talking
We're
about,
all about it.
they were all about it. And remember, they didn't have televisions.
Yeah.
You know, they would have had a radio. They wouldn't even have had central heating.
Yeah.
Back in the 20s and the 30s, especially that era. So they used to use part of the fire
Yeah.
in the fireplace and sit as a home circle.
Yeah.
And then they would actually blend together by using the fire in that way, the flames, and connect. And that's how the spirit world, that's why when physical manifestation happened, it was done in red light.
Yeah.
Because it was because of the fire.
Yeah.
So the spirit world were used to working in that way, and it was more darker, you see, too.
Yeah.
But families were tighter then.
Yes.
You know, because they would have been bigger families. They were more connected. There wasn't as many interests in the evening.
Yeah.
Because there is no TV.
Yeah.
And there isn't much to do in the night. So, you know, these families would have, not all families, of course, but families did come together, and they would have set for circle in that way.
Yeah.
You know, but you have to have the mediumship there.
Yeah.
To manifest.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. I love it as much as I've always done.
Yeah. I do too. But mediumship, I think sometimes for me, I love it, but it makes me real emotional. Really, really like emotional.
Yeah.
And some days I'm like, I'll bust out crying for nothing, and it just starts showing me something, whether I wanted to see it or not, and I'm not even reading at the time, and it gets me like that.
Yeah, it overwhelms you then.
Sometimes.
With your sensitivity.
Sometimes,
but you do find, as you know, sensitivity does increase as you go into circle.
Definitely.
It has to.
Yeah.
For you to be able to sense a soul of another person.
Yeah.
And feel the information of what they're trying to experience through us as mediums. And so naturally our sensitivity and the sensitivity then expands out to other areas of our life. And so that's why, so for example, you might end up your relationship, personal life, you may find you start conflicting there. Interests with different friendships might start to change. Your certainly. Tastes, the environments that you used to socialize around might change. Because what you're doing is you're bringing more harmony and balance. Because you're being more, you have to think about it. Like if this is me and this is my soul and this is the soul of another person. So my soul is connecting with them. It's not my physical body. So I'm blending with my soul. So what's taking place then after I've done the contact? I am more in tune with my soul, and my soul is seeking balance constantly. So that's why if there's areas of my life that are in some form of conflict, then they will fizzle away. Because what I'm doing in my soul is to try my best to be more in alignment with who I am. And that's why people go, you're so spiritual, but we're all spiritual. You know, but when people say that, what they're meaning is you're more in touch with your soul essence. Because you're aware of having compassion, of love, of patience. You know, that you can see things beyond that maybe the average person doesn't get to see. And you can hold the energy of that in that environment. So I don't know if that makes sense. You
definitely can't avoid, though it makes sense. You definitely can't avoid yourself though, so you can't, in a sense, you can't avoid your
because you're and that's why there's usually a healing process for many students when they're on this journey too, because as they get into it, bear with me here. As they get into more of their training and their sensitivity increases, and they find that they're blending more with their own, attuning with their own soul, then these areas may cause a bit of grief. And so that's why there's healing that happens. And you have to remember, when you're sitting in your meditations week on week in your circle work or in your awareness class, you're connecting into those parts of the mind, and especially more in the subconscious where the memories are stored. So if you've gone through any form of trauma or you've gone through difficulties that you haven't dealt with, what happens in meditation is and it happens very slowly, not all at once. What happens is you start to feel into those and so memories that have been stored and emotions that have been stored start to surface. And so that's why there can be a period of time when you're in a place of just feeling all over the place emotionally and mentally, and it's because you're trying to deal with it. But then it becomes there is a healing process, and it won't always stay that way. Sometimes people have to get maybe a little bit of outside help in terms of counselling.
Yeah.
You know, if mediums are dealing with any forms of addiction, then they can go and they can seek, you know, different, maybe a 12-step program, or they can go to Al-Anon if there's been issues around alcohol abuse in family. So there's you know, places to go, but all of that, or you can do loads of journaling, or you can talk to friends, or you can keep talking to the spirit world. But no matter what, what's happening in the soul, it's wanting balance. And you see all that emotional conflict that maybe you've stored or you haven't dealt with, it gets resolved. And then what happens? More balance comes.
Yeah. Powerful. I love your train of thought. Absolutely powerful. Angela, what about the spirit world? Do you have a full perception of what it is? Sometimes I think I can see wee bits, but never the full picture.
No, I don't. I think that it's always a mystery, and I think it's nice to have a mystery.
Yeah.
You know, that you're never going to fully understand everything. You know, whenever you, again, if you're sitting in meditation, or sometimes the spirit world, when you're doing personal readings, they give little snippets of what it's like. And that's where I find the education comes, because in all the years I'm doing this, the 20 years I'm doing this, I've never once had a spirit person say to me that they're not in a good place. Never. They always say they're in a good place. Always. Because you have to remember, whenever, so you've got your soul energy, and then you have your physical, and within, housed in the physical is your mental, emotional, and then the physical body. So you have your mental, your emotional body, your physical body, and so when someone dies, that physical body is left, and they go into their soul essence, but there's no pain, nothing. There's no pain in any of those. It's not, you know, you have the memories of the physical, the mental, emotional, but you're not within it anymore. So when they pass over, all that is left behind, all of it. And so that's why they're always okay, because they have peace. No matter how they passed, whether it was through illness or trauma in some way, that soul will be absolutely intact and 100%. And more importantly, they're going to be with loved ones that have passed over. Because when you think about it, when they, especially in more one-to-ones, you know, then you get to experience a bit more time with somebody. And so if I'm bringing, say, your grandmother through, she may say, well, I've met your granda.
He came for me.
And I've met your aunt, and I've met whoever it might be. So it shows that there's a team of people that are there, that are together, but that there's in some way still bonded to your family, because they knew when you were going to come for that reading. They knew when you were going to sit at that particular time on that day, and yet they were able to connect in. So it shows there's an intelligence there.
There's a different dimension.
But if there's an intelligence, it's not even just a different dimension. And I really don't believe that there's all these different. I don't believe that there's.
I think it's very similar to yours.
No, I don't. I feel like that it's more about light and color and sound and connection and feeling and love, and that they have this awareness that we sometimes we might tap into in our meditation, but mainly we can't, because we're more conscious in the body. But if you're able to just bring yourself up a bit, then you start to really get a bit more of a connection to them, and let them see through our eyes.
Angela, brilliant, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on.
Was that helpful?
Brilliant, really, really brilliant.
Good.
I would love to have you on again.
No problem at all. And if anybody has any questions, then they can reach out.
Yes, definitely.
We can try to help.
Next time I'll put on, if anybody has any questions for Angela or whatever. Or,
that would be good, wouldn't it? Do a wee Q&A and see how it goes. But if anybody is maybe concerned about a loved one, and that's why I did say that, you know, so remember that your loved ones are always safe, and that they're not in any discomfort or pain. That is eradicated whenever that person passes over. So, you know, they're solid and they're okay.
Do you think sometimes that happens right away, or it takes a wee bit of time?
No, I feel like it happens right away for them, although I feel like there has to be an adjustment. It just depending on the soul of the person who passes over. You know, if I'm somebody that prayed all my life and believed in Jesus, and I knew that I was going to go on to a better place, and I really devoted myself in a holy way, you can be sure that I know I'm getting into a peaceful place. But if I die in a way that I am not even expecting, and it's a completely sudden passing, it may take me a wee while to orientate, but they're still greeted with guides and with loved ones there, and with love. With love, pure essence of love, to help them. And then, but I for some, it may take them a wee while longer than others. It just depends on the soul.
See, I don't believe anybody's ever really truly lost. I don't.
Oh no, they're never. Nobody's
No.
lost. Oh
Some
God,
I feel
no.
try to come back and hold on a wee bit longer than they should maybe, but ultimately they find their happy place.
No, they're
Yeah.
never lost. And it's not even that they come back. They are present because they may feel the deep emotions of a loved one that is still suffering here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they want to give them the comfort.
Yeah.
So when a loved one is being felt really strongly around, it's just simply for that reason,
Yeah.
to help them to know we're still here for you.
Yeah.
And then once the person has a slight awareness, then they're able to go on a
Yeah.
little bit more with their journey, but they're never ever away from them,
Yeah.
because the love that the spirit world has for their loved ones here, family and friends, it's eternal.
Yeah. Powerful.
Eternal.
Yeah. That's powerful, Angela. I love you have your own. I think all mediums have their own sort of views, don't they? Most of them have
They
their own
do.
awarenesses, but I love the way. Yeah, love it.
Well, thank you so much. Well, thank you for having me.
Yes,
and
definitely.
I hope that you enjoyed it.
Yes, I did. I could listen to you all day, Angela. Definitely, you're a great guest.
Thank you.
We definitely need to create more content for spiritual people, because I think people at home now are liking the whole podcasting, liking listening.
Yeah.
It's just different conversations that spark something.
Yes.
Do you know?
They probably have now we've asked about questions. There's
Yeah.
probably going to be about 10 questions now that they're going to ask.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
not live, so it's all.
Yeah. I know that already, but they might still have questions that they might want to ask.
Yeah.
So, but no, I enjoy this interaction. I think this is great.
Me too. Give me a hug, Angela.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Oh my God.